Hey, this is Rosa.
And this is Ed.
And we are Kino Motel.
And you're listening to Interview Under Fire.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Sunny here with another brand new edition of Interview Under Fire. We got a special episode today, as I'm also joined by my co-host, Julie LaCrout. Julie, how's it going?
Good. Nice to be here.
And joining us are Ed Fraser and Rosa Mercedes of Kino Motel. Thank you guys so much for joining our podcast today on IUF. This is an important yet exciting time of the year for you guys with the release of your debut single, Waves. And the word is out already on how you guys have pretty much cemented yourselves in a new sonically creative genre-filled world called grit pop. You know, first off, congratulations on all the well-deserved acknowledgements it's been getting so far, especially from Northern Transmission, Backseat Mafia, MX Down, Two Story Melody, Flaunt, Excess Noise. You know, the list goes on for you guys. But before we get to that, I'm going to ask a very important question. It's a very simple one, but I think it's an important one to ask considering where we are at our lives at this moment. How are you? You know, how has life been for you guys individually? You know, our lives have pretty much changed since March. So how's life in Australia right now?
It's pretty good right now. Yeah, it's we were in lockdown for like 6 months in Melbourne.
Wow.
It's crazy. So like our lives couldn't be any more different to what they were pre-COVID, as I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people. So it's pretty weird, to be honest. Like we've gone from being people who travel a lot, tour a lot, like living fairly hectic lives, to then just like being in one house, one place, 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like we've been through some kind of intensive mental ninja training. And
that's a really good way to put it. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and in some ways I feel actually more sane. And in others, not so much.
Yeah.
I feel definitely less sane than I did 6 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, making the best of the situation is definitely a challenge. And you guys are doing that. I know we're all doing that. You know, I'm going to actually pass this off to Julie because she actually has a really interesting question to start you guys off at this next one. So Julie, if you want to take the helm here.
Okay. So in researching a little bit, I noticed you two have quite the interesting backstory. How did you meet, and what is it like creating music, producing music with your spouse?
Who wants to take this one? Y'all are both looking at each other like, okay, you want to do this? You want to do this?
Well, we actually met on kind of a community, like a commune together that we were both in. And like, you know, it's pretty unusual climate to meet someone in. You know, we used to do these kind of like fairly theatrical things and be in nature, and yeah, it was a unique way to meet someone. And so I think when you meet someone like that, you can click in a different way that maybe you don't get to see that side of someone in the normal world.
So Rosa, speaking of which, you said, and I'm taking this from the Two Story Melody article that I read, you said the first song you ever heard Eddie sing was Dolly Parton's Jolene, and he was wearing a blonde wig at the time. I mean, that's when it clicks, right?
That's when it clicks.
And the rest of it's history.
That's right. I also, I really liked, you know, no matter what, Eddie does a lot of lunging when he plays music. And that really appealed to me as well. I'm pretty sure when he was singing Jolene, there was a lunge or two as well.
I like to stretch. I like to really spread myself out on stage, no matter what the stage is.
Can you sing it for us?
Yes.
We were going through notes. We're like, should we ask him that? Let's see what. Okay. There
Oh,
we go.
yes,
There we go.
guitar.
I'm definitely switching the angles here. Here we go. All yours, brother.
I'm not sure if I can remember it. That's not it. It's sort of close. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Yeah. That'll do.
Oh my God. Okay. That was awesome.
Awesome.
It was great because Rosa was like, you're actually doing this, aren't you?
I was impressed.
Hey, that's great. I love that story because just something simple like that can just expand into what it is right now. Julie, you want to ask this next question? Because I think the next one's very important as well, because it's a very nice transition into what we want to talk about next. That's very awesome. Ed, we're gonna have to finish that song someday. Go ahead, Julie.
So, given the state of the world right now, what is it like beginning your musical journey career in the midst of a pandemic? Are there other challenges that weren't there before? What is it like for you guys?
It's actually pretty weird. It's really different. Yeah, I'm definitely used to putting out a record or a single or something and then touring around that, playing shows around that. And that's such a huge part of promoting music, and not being able to do that it's definitely very different and quite a challenge, but it's also afforded us the opportunity to spend more time on other aspects of the music and like other aspects around the music. So we're able to explore like our creative sides, like making silly promo videos. Yeah.
Good.
That's been really cool. It's like, oh, we can't go on tour and we have like all this time. Let's make a video about, how to stick a sticker or like, making these like funny promo videos. And yeah, it's definitely got some big challenges, but then there's definitely positives to it.
Go ahead, Rosa. You want to finish that thought?
I think it's sort of a lot more online than it would normally be. Normally, Ed and I would go to shows pretty much every day of the week, and you kind of, when you release something, you feel like it's in this network that you're seeing with your own real eyes. Yeah. And now we're just basically, whatever we do online, we're just gonna entertain ourselves and hopefully other people as much as possible.
Yeah, I don't know how the way my schedule was before this pandemic went down. I was at a show every week. I don't know how it was for you guys as far as that is concerned. But having said that, I want to talk about that lifestyle, because the live concert experience for both of you. What was your biggest takeaway from that? Because now both of you are kind of just taking like an unseen step back. And does it make you have a growing appreciation of the concert life? Because we're talking about culture, fans, even the food. There's just so many things about the touring life, the live concert experience, which makes it amazing. What was each of yours, biggest takeaway about that lifestyle before everything shut down?
Yeah, I definitely miss it. And it definitely realized how much of a community it is and how much of a very well connected worldwide community you're part of when you play music. And how easily that how easily that disappears,
Yeah.
So like, I guess from a personal perspective, I miss the connections and the friendship and meeting people and just being able to be around people all the time. It's huge. And that's like, obviously that's such a huge part of what music's about, is connection and people.
But we're sort of preparing this, we're setting this whole band up with that in mind, that's what we want to be doing. So this feels like, something we do before we are on tour as much as possible and seeing people as much as possible. So it's very much like, we still very much feel connected to that future of that being what we do.
A very popular topic on the show for the last 8 months, and I can't believe I'm even saying 8 months, and you guys have seen this, all these bands, is live streaming. They've been taking what they do on stage and putting it on the screen like we're doing right now. 2 months ago, I actually went to, I don't know if you guys heard about this, Metallica did a live streaming here in the States, and in Dallas, it sold out immediately. So luckily, you know, a friend of mine was able to get a ticket to it, and we went. And believe it or not, this is my first ever Metallica experience. I know, someone like me, how could you have not seen Metallica already at this point? I get there. It was very unique because it was just a deserted field, which is just a bunch of cars just parked right across the lot, just hundreds of them. And what's the most popular thing we hear at, like, you know, like at a metal show, for example? Oh, let me see your horns. And what do you see? You see a sea of just horns of just fans doing this, right? Right? We see that. So instead, what did we get? The artist was saying, hey, let me hear you honk your horns. So if you roll your window down, you just hear cars just honking, like just in the middle of the night, just all the way down. It was so odd. And it made me miss, you know, the live experience even more. So I wanted to ask, with all the experience that both of you have gained in, with all the connections you have made, do you guys think the quarantine induced live streaming surge that we're seeing right now from all these artists around the world, is that going to affect the touring musician business going forward? Do you guys see bands doing this even after all this is over?
Good question. Yeah, hard to say. I mean, I personally hope that touring can get back to some kind of semblance of what it was before, but obviously that's going to be difficult for a lot of smaller venues and things like this, or even the larger ones, I guess. Yeah, good question. I reckon, yeah, I feel like we're probably going to see more people doing like more creative in studio stream style concerts. Like we've even spoken about it ourselves, that maybe we're going to try and shoot like a multicam in studio thing with a band and then release that. And
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like less as a live stream thing and more of just like a, you know, here's this thing that we're going to put plenty of time and effort into making it sound good, making it look good. Yeah, I feel like we might see more of that stuff in the future.
Yeah, sorry, Rosa. I always know you're going to say something after. Go ahead.
I was just taking a sharp intake of breath.
Yeah.
I think sometimes those smaller gigs are even just excuses for people to meet. So I think there'll be just as many. There'll probably just be more of everything.
Yeah.
There'll be so much live. People will be desperate to just meet up and go to like gigs with their mates, whoever they're following, and but then there'll be more online content too. Going to be busy.
There's going to be so much live stuff that people are going to be desperate to stay home alone.
Yeah. You know. No, yeah, you guys have put it perfectly. You know, another thing to think about is like the saturation of the market. Like all these artists are at home, like yourselves, and there's so much new content. Like just every week, you see it coming out. But when this is all over, you can have all these bands who are going to want to present this music live. I had a band. The name of the band is Pigs. It's literally 7 times. They're from the UK. They had a new album that came out, and they felt it didn't feel complete unless they had the opportunity to present it to the fans live. I don't know if that's something that rings in your mind, that ever actually seeps in your mind thinking about that, but it's a very interesting take on it. But what I was trying to get at is when all these bands are coming out, when, you know, things are back to normal, whenever that will be, all these venues, I don't know how it's like in Australia where you're at, but in Dallas, there are venues that are shutting down here in the States as well. And some bands will get lucky, some bands won't. And that's another thing to think about, is just the uncertainty going forward. But, and there's no right or wrong answer. You guys gave a perfect answer on what you wanted to do, because some artists would be like, oh, I'm not doing anything until this is over. And some artists would be like, yeah, I would love to do live streaming. It's a way for me to still engage with the fans. I mean, I have the liberty to mosh in my own room if I wanted to, but, you know, it'll make me miss, you know, seeing you guys live. Like I would love to see Kino Motel live, just hearing that Waves track. And I'm just like, man, can you imagine the amount of impact you guys would have visually, just especially with nowadays, the visual presentation, I think is just as important as far as what you hear. I don't know. Yeah. What comes to your mind when you think about that, right?
Yeah, fully. I like the live stream stuff, and especially when people put effort into it and yeah, it's great that people are still making the effort to connect to the fans and give something for people to watch, but it's never the same as the actual real thing as well. Like that, you feel music when it's live and loud and in front of you.
Yeah, very true. Like, again, we're making the best of the situation. Here we are. I know we talked about everything from head to toe. I promise we'll talk about waves and everything you're working on right now. I promise. Came out October 24th. It's only about over a week old, and it's been on repeat in my headphones for as long as I've been listening to it. And you guys said we really wanted Waves to sound like the soundtrack to a film. First of all, I got to say, I'm the biggest Tarantino fan. So as I was going through like the list of Tarantino films I watched, you know, from Inglourious Basterds to Kill Bill to Django Unchained, it sounded exactly like a Tarantino film. Like the soundtrack from the cinematography. I know Julie's a big fan of cinematography. Like, so you guys nailed it on the dot. And it was Kung Fu inspired. You guys nailed everything. You know, Julie, if you want to chime in with these next couple of questions, because she has some really good follow-ups to the Waves track you guys put out. So Julie, go ahead and take it from here.
Sure. So in the press release that came out, I had read that Waves was written in about a week, and it was based on an experience that you had in Thailand a couple of years back. So I'm going to go for it. Can you talk a little bit about the experience and how it influenced the single?
I would prefer not to.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin your
surprise.
You know, your imagination
okay.
with, you know, banal reality.
Okay. So I guess then my next question off of that one would be, we've described your music as grit pop. What, in terms of your explanation, how would you describe that subgenre best, and how does it represent your music?
Yeah, I guess we we both love like good poppy hooks and like things that are listenable and things that have a chorus and are catchy and stuff like that. But then we both also love stuff that's different, discordant, melodically maybe a bit weird, harmonically maybe not always pleasing. So things are a bit on the more arty side of things. And then like the dirt and the grit and darkness, we're both pretty sure I can speak for both of us.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're both fans of things that are gritty and darker and dirtier. So I guess it's essentially that. It's like this idea of trying to write pop music that's on the darker, more arty, more dissonant side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, this project, when we started this project together, I personally was like, all right, I want to try and write very accessible pop music. And because I have a background in heavy.
I mean, look what's behind me. I got a behemoth plaque behind me, and you got me to listen to Kino Motel. I think you pretty much accomplished that as far as that is concerned.
But my background is in very heavy, not very accessible music. So when we started this, and it was like, yeah, I'm going to try and write accessible pop music, and because I like that too, you know, I like all kinds of stuff. And
I love it.
And then I've had people who've heard it have been like, yeah, man, that's not particularly pop. You know, it's not very accessible. To me, it sounds poppy, so I don't know. But people have definitely said to us and to me, like, yeah, man, it's not really that poppy, and it's like still somehow. So that's a bit as well as I can explain it, I guess.
Yeah.
Or it's catchy hooks, pop music, but like kind of heavy and dirty. And
okay, so if I may add, I'm not gonna go further into it. Julie knows a little bit about it, but I listened to the Spice Girls growing up. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, so when you guys put out this song, I was like, okay, this actually took me back to my roots. And then now look at us metalheads talking about pop. What is this? This is 2020, right? So I know the music video for Waves is the first of a 5-part series that will take the band around the globe from Bangkok to Thailand to Australia. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I wanted to ask, how much did things change from when you guys first started composing on a song like Waves to where you ended up finishing it? Did a lot change in between? Did nothing change in between? Was there already a specific sound you guys knew you wanted with Waves? And you can answer this for your forthcoming songs as well, if you can talk about that.
Everything changed.
That's good.
It's been this very open, long-term process where we want to give ourselves so much freedom to develop the seed of the idea and let it just go where it wants to go, and also give each other a lot of freedom to just put down ideas. Often we put something down, it couldn't feel like it's a whole finished song, and then we listen to it later and we're like, no, that's not cool, is it? And we're like, no, it's not. And then we're like, oh, we'll put something else there.
Hey, it's not pop enough. That's all I'm going to say.
There's definitely a lot of experimentation going on.
And was it, I don't mean to interrupt you there, but I think, I wanted to follow up. Was it produced and mixed by yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So having said that, was there a sense of comfortability knowing that, okay, this is the way we wanted it to sound? And you can add on to, between writing and structuring the songs and the production process, what challenges have either of you faced this time around that you could take forward with you in future productions?
So initially we were planning to have someone else mix it. But then COVID happened and we had no money and a bunch of extra time on our hands. It's like, well, we can't afford to pay someone to mix it. We're going to mix it ourselves. So that was a bit of an unexpected bonus. And yeah, when you're mixing it yourself and recording it yourself, it's at any time you can easily go, oh, I'm just going to change the chord structure of the chorus, which is a blessing and a curse, I guess, because you can then, it's very easy to then never put down the paintbrush. You just keep rewriting the song and it goes on and on and on. And time-wise, this definitely blew out by at least 6 months, I think. We were planning to release this stuff a fair bit sooner than we actually did.
Yeah.
But now that now that this COVID's happened and all this stuff, and we're like, oh, well, I guess we can just mix stuff ourselves. That's completely changed the process for us too, because we can just put down bare bones of any song and then we can add any element at any time.
And we took at least a couple of months to actually do full-time mixing school online.
Awesome.
So we'll take that forward, especially Eddie. He's the wizard mixer. I'm not quite as technical minded as Eddie, but we both did this mixing school, and I think gained so many skills that we can now put onto the next tracks moving forward and have total freedom to do whatever.
I mean, if anything, you guys actually learn more about yourselves, we're at home. We don't have much to, latch onto except what we're passionate about. I didn't know I was going to be doing podcasts 6 months ago. And now here I am. You guys are my 100th guest, and this is kind of what the norm for me. And this is actually a good thing. It allows me to open up with the artist in a way that I've never had before. I'm learning more about myself as much as I'm learning about yourself. So, again, little metalhead insight in there. I'm going to go in there, but
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
So with your upcoming songs, are they going to tell one cohesive story or will it be multiple stories?
It's so the songs themselves are about various things. The songs are all the subject matter for the songs are different, but the videos tell a somewhat cohesive story. Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh, so I love the videos. I'm just getting excited when you guys release the next one. I know we'll get to that in a minute, but go ahead.
Yes, yeah. It's a lot of fun with the videos. We're pretty stoked on people we've been able to work with and how it came out. And it's it's a storyline there's a few twists and turns, and it's gonna change along the way. But yeah,
Okay.
it is a cohesive series.
So this is going to be on Apple and Spotify. I'm going to make sure there's some way Quentin Tarantino needs to hear this, because you're talking about telling a story in your way, the way that you guys have presented it visually and artistically, in a way that I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, the sky's the limit for you guys. I'm going to throw one name out there, Josephine Runstein, who also plays drums on all the songs. And she's primarily a violinist. And I actually play violin myself. So as soon as I heard where as soon as she finished tracking the drums with you guys, she busted out the violin. So it was like she helped you guys manifest this creation. What was that experience like, bringing in outside professionals in their respective fields into your world of making music? Did it make the process easier knowing that they were present?
Fully. Yeah. Yeah. Rosa's toured with Josephine and
awesome
projects. So they knew each other quite well already. And she is an incredible musician. Like, she's been playing music for years, comes from a very musical family. She's very professional. I grew up playing in, crappy bands in garages. So
we both did. I already know how you feel. I kind of just want to pick up a violin just right after you said that.
So I'm very impressed by Josephine and her. Like, anyone who's a professional musician is impressive, but she's incredible. Like I see the stuff she does and the way she does it, and it's like watching a master at work. And playing and being in the studio and playing with and being around people who have these kind of abilities and skills, and it's very inspiring, and it brings, to go back to the original question, I feel very comfortable. It makes you, it gives you a lot of confidence in what she's able to do and what's going to come out. Because she can do anything, You're like, can you make it sound like this? And then she's like, oh yeah. And you sound like this, and she's like, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, no pressure. Just bring her in on any future releases you guys have. On Waves, there's a lyric that really stands out. I know it stood out to other publications. Cut through a winding path among trees, shadows hung, under leaves, under your feet as you run. And Ed, you said that song is about escaping, getting out, leaving a toxic situation, and how hard it can be. And you really have to fight for it. It's not easy. And I think it very reflects into the time we are in today. Let me ask both of you about this question. To what level do you guys like to have a theme for your songs? And how important are themes to you? Is that more about helping you guys write or sound, or is that more for the audience? Because a lot of artists, they don't really care about themes. They just do 10 songs in the studio and that's it. But I felt like you guys had a specific dilemma you wanted to reach with Waves, and maybe even your future songs you have coming up.
Yeah. I can only speak personally, but for me, it's like an emotional outlet and connection and release. And lyrically, it's very much an emotional thing for me, and something that I feel like I need to do. And I find that if I'm not writing music and I'm not writing songs, I become like kind of an unhappy person. Yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. You should be able to just write out and be passionate what you want. Just let the world know what you want, what you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a healthy release for me. I've learned that about myself. So lyrically, the themes are important personally, I guess. And I personally don't tend to get into and tell, like, if fans come up and they're like, hey man, what's this song about? Or they write me an email like, hey dude, can you tell me? I tend to not tell people what the songs are actually about, because I like to leave it open to interpretation. And if someone really gets something from that song, then I like to leave that for them. So I guess lyrically the themes are not specifically for an audience, and it's more just what comes out,
Yeah.
Yeah,
God, Rose and me are gonna have to go ahead. You need like a buzzer. Go ahead.
I think that I noticed there are really strong themes. I think in lyrics that Eddie writes and in songs that I write.
Yeah.
But they're not conscious. They happen when you look back on what you've written, and there are always themes. And but it's not something to plan. It's actually something you can reflect on afterwards. There are always themes. Yeah. I see it in your work so much as well.
Likewise, yeah. Sometimes you realize a year later,
Yeah.
like I'm singing a song from that I wrote a year prior, and I'm like, oh, that's what that song's about.
That's right. That's right. And I have like a lot of, I write so many books and books of diaries of like lyrics or just like stream of consciousness, and I look back, the what I've written 6 months preceding some kind of event, it's all in there. Like it's always you're already doing what you're doing before it happens. There's these major themes in our lives that if you're like in a place where you're writing a lot, it becomes very obvious. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same with you guys or Julie, if you want to chime in on this, because anytime I hear a song, it doesn't really hit me until much later. Like, for example, Siamese Dream from Smashing Pumpkins. Like, everybody knows that album. It's such a staple in like, in not just rock, just in music in general. That didn't become my favorite album until like maybe 15 years later, and from when I first heard it to where I am right now. And now, I don't know if it's the way with you, Rosa, looking at your diary, like going back, it's like, wow, did I actually write? Oh, you know what? Let's use this. This is actually good. I don't know if that's something that just like happens, or, because you have so much that you manifested from what you've experienced growing up, and then you saved it in a diary, or nowadays you can save it on a phone if you want. But, I always wondered, it's always interesting to know how that works when it comes to bringing that old lyric out, bringing that old self out almost, and trying to put that into a perspective where you may have not been able to express it before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's often like a theme that I've been writing about like a year previously, and then the next year I'll take it out and look at it, and I'm like, oh, I have perspective on this now, and I see the value of that theme, and I'm kind of still in it, and then the song happens. Yeah, it's kind of amazing to have that tool to be able to try and like understand the events of your life, basically.
Do you guys have any announcements about that single Simple Desire that's coming out anytime soon? Because that was also recorded and mixed in the same wave session as in Berlin and Melbourne. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Are we staying harsh about this, or?
It's gonna be good. I'm pretty excited. That's my comment.
Yeah, all right, that's a good comment. Having said that, do you see a song like Waves? Do you see a song like Simple Desire? Even your future releases, do you see these collection of songs as a snapshot of where you guys are at a certain time in your life?
Fully.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Especially recordings. So like, music played live, I feel like really evolves over time, and just you play a song totally differently years later. But recorded music is like it's the same as a photograph, basically. It's this one moment that you played it.
Interesting.
It's just frozen in time.
Yeah, it's always tricky about that, because you don't want to look back on this year and be like, oh, this was the pandemic song, and this is what's gonna take me back to. There's no protocol for a pandemic. Like, it's like, okay, here's the list. Here's what we should do if there's a pandemic. There's nothing for that. And it's always, I don't know if that ever crossed your mind. Like, okay, should we delay what we're writing right now? Has that ever crossed your mind? Like, okay, should we move Waves further to this day? Should we stick to the schedule? And there's some bands who benefited from the schedule, releasing music in April. I think Lamb of God, they're one of the first bands to actually delay the release, and they actually benefited from it. So I don't know if that has ever crossed your mind about sticking to the schedule for Waves or Simple Desire or anything you guys have planned. You guys are okay as far as that is concerned, correct?
Yeah, we definitely considered holding back on releasing stuff. Yeah, when we definitely discussed it together, like, is this a good idea? I released an album with another band I play in May, and then we couldn't tour it at all. Whereas we would have been doing probably 3 months worth of shows, 4 months worth of shows on it, and like, it was a good and bad experience releasing an album at the end of May. It was like not the best time to release stuff. So
yeah,
we definitely considered, like, do we hold back? Do we not do this? And we thought, you know what? It is what it is. This is the time that we're living in right now. You can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next year or whatever. So let's just go for it. And we just adapt and evolve and roll with it.
I think that's the grittier thing to do. You know, you don't wait for the perfect moment. You just, like, it's reality, and like, we just want to put stuff out. So like, we'll make the best of it we can, and hopefully people like it and listen to it. Yeah, and we're also, I think the thing about being like a you know, kind of like two people at the helm, we're both pretty, I think we make decisions also quite intuitively, and like, we tend to have the same like instinct about things.
Yeah.
Like this, like, it's pretty easy. So we just we're just like, yeah, I think we just felt like releasing it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the world could use more Kino Motel. I'm just telling you that. I mean, that's, and are you guys planning on a, I don't even know how much you can talk about this. Are you guys planning on like a studio album in the future?
Yeah.
Okay, because that would be amazing, and we're definitely gonna do another interview about that whenever that time comes. But releasing music is definitely something you guys need to keep doing. I urge you guys to keep doing. I mean, we'll support you guys. You know, before we finish things off here, I'm gonna ask a couple questions. These are like some of the fun questions I asked. Wait for the end. But if considering you guys have collaborated with someone like, you know, Josephine Runstein already, if it was up to you guys, what would be another artist that you guys would love to collaborate with that you haven't with already? And it could be anybody when I say anybody.
Nice.
I'm going to say Dolly Parton. She wants to get...
I think he already had that planned.
I mean, we wouldn't mind if Tarantino wants to do a music video for us.
Would be
oh my God.
If Quentin is interested, Quentin, you want to talk?
We're here to talk.
Happy to talk.
Quentin, yes, they're here to talk, and let's please get something going. If you guys weren't musicians, what would you guys be doing right now?
Oh, I love that. I love that question. I'd be a trucker.
Oh wow, that's like that was the first response of that kind. I've never heard that response before. Usually when I ask this question, the musician would be like, you know what? I don't think I could do anything but music. You know, you're the first person. You don't even hesitate, Rosa. That's the most impressive part. You're just like, you know what? I'm gonna be a trucker. Yeah.
I just learned something very new about Rosa today.
There you go. Ed, you want to chime in, or are you going to have that answer where, you know what, I wouldn't be anything else but a musician? I can think of any other way for me to be involved with music.
I would be a fortune teller, like crystal ball, wearing a big thing in a tent somewhere, just like telling people all kinds of lies.
I don't know if you guys are giving me actual answers or if these are clues to your music videos. Because I'm just saying, you guys are very artistic with your answers. So that's very unique. So, you guys have come a long way, each of you, before Kino Motel, before you guys even met each other. What advice would you have for someone wanting to follow in your footsteps when it comes to creating just technically the fourth wall of music, so to speak, grit pop? Like no one hears about that.
I'd say, definitely do what feels right to you, whatever that is. So emotionally, you got to feel the music. If it feels right, if it feels like something you need to say or do, then do it. And if other people don't like it, they don't like it. But yeah, there's always going to be, there's an audience out there for everyone. You just have to find it,
Very true.
And practical advice for any young people or anyone else in music, I think the most practical advice I can give anyone is go to shows, meet people, be nice, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, just
as simple as that sounds, that is a very that is a very important thing to point out. And buy the merch, you know, support the bands. The fans who are listening to this podcast, buy the merch. The bands can't do it without the help. You know, it's easier said than done. It's a very simple thing. It's a very important thing. Rosa, go ahead. You're holding it back. Go ahead.
Like clockwork. Yeah, I really think the be nice thing is pretty central, because the vibe that you put out is what comes out in your music too. And also, you never know who you're going to meet. So I'm here today, and like, for example, the reason why I met Josephine Runstein in the end and toured with her is because I met some people in a beach bar who I didn't know who they were. And I was just like, they seemed kind of interesting. And I was like, I guess I was nice to them. They were nice to me. I didn't think anything of it. I just invited them to come and stay at my place. I was living in Amsterdam at the time. And I was like, hey, if you ever tour, I thought they were just this like crazy village band on the beach.
Hey, those exist. They actually do pretty well.
Yeah, they were. I know, they were like, I was like, this is so cool. I don't know who they are, but they said they toured sometimes. So I was like, cool. And then I was like, well, come and stay at my place in Amsterdam if you do tour in the Netherlands. And it didn't take them long to come on tour. And it happened to be Josephine Foster and her band, which included Paz from the Pixies.
Oh my gosh. I personally love the Pixies. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, they Perfect Circle. Yeah, they stayed at my place, and I thought they were just a village band. I still didn't know who they were when they came over. And one of my friends was like, Rosa, they're like all over these like music magazines.
They're on the cover of Rolling.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You mean that village band?
And I was just like, I mean, I almost, because I didn't know who they were, but I just thought they seemed really nice. So I just like wanted to be friends with them. And the same still applies. I'd equally want to be friends with them as a village band, because they were just cool.
And here you are talking about music you created with that person. It's crazy how things work out.
Yeah, and then touring with Josephine later in her band. It took many years, but then we ended up playing together and touring together. And then Josephine was on that tour. And then, like, you just don't know who you're going to meet, so you should just follow your gut about liking people you like, and they can turn out to be pretty incredible.
And just be part of your music community, even if it's not for personal gain or whatever, but it's such a valuable thing, and we're so lucky to have these things, especially normally when you can get out and play shows and all that stuff. So yeah, just be part of the scene and be part of the community. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Well said, man. This has been an honor. Julie, did you want to have any last words you want to add before we finish things off here?
I think I'm all out of questions. It's been amazing to meet you guys.
Yeah, I think we covered everything from top to bottom.
Thanks heaps for having us on. We're really happy to be on. And good luck in the US with everything as well.
Man, I hope you guys come to the States, when all this is over. I mean, obviously, we would do these interviews in person, but, of course, with the situation we're at now, we would love to, come to Dallas, or even New York, where Julie is at. And then we'll do an in-person interview. Like that would be like the best way to like tell our story, how we met. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that time we did that Zoom interview, and Zoom probably won't even be a thing anymore when we meet. So
I hope so.
Sounds great.
Do you guys have any last shout outs, any plugs? Is there anything you want to mention about Kino Motel to your fans who are listening before we finish things off here?
Simple Design coming.
You can say.
Simple Design is coming soon. The video series continues, so stay tuned.
That's right. And we want to come to America. a lot.
Yes.
And we hope that you guys, that things go well. We're really rooting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate it too. And actually, one of my first places to visit after quarantine is Australia. I've never been to Australia. And I got my passport ready to go. I was planning on like a trip, this summer to go out there. And of course, perfect timing, so to speak, but we'll see that going forward. But everyone is listening, Kino Motel, Rosa and Ed, Waves is out right now. It came out October 24th. It's only been out a week. Check it out on YouTube. They have a lot more exciting stuff coming up ahead. You can listen to this podcast on interviewunderfire.com, on Apple, Spotify, all major podcast streams, YouTube, whatever you have. Rosa and Ed, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Julie, thank you for joining us today. We'll do this next time. Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Interview Under Fire podcast. If you guys liked what you heard, please subscribe and share our channel. And please leave a 5-star review, as that helps us tremendously. And also, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can find us at Interview Under Fire at Facebook or at Instagram. Or you can write us directly at schwag@interviewunderfire.com. That's SCHWAG at interviewunderfire.com. Or Rezablade, that's REZABLADE at interviewunderfire.